This is the President of the United States standing beside his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. As we all know, Mr. Epstein is one of the most notorious sexual predators in American history. For 8 weeks, the Republicans on this committee have chosen to protect these two men instead of providing justice to Mr. Epstein's victims. Now the administration is panicking. First, they campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. Then AG Bondi and Associates did a photo op with the files. And she said, and I quote, "The Epstein list is on my desk." Then somehow the Epstein list didn't exist. Then the Epstein files became a Democratic hoax. Now the president is supposedly supportive of releasing the files, even though he's currently ignoring a congressional subpoena to do so. Now the president is simply crashing out. And it's because he can't seem to explain his special decades-long relationship with one of the most prominent sexual predators in American history. It's already public that he's in the Epstein files, but his administration is hiding the context of his involvement, if any, with Mr. Epstein's horrific crimes. Now, this is Miss Ghislaine Maxwell. Miss Maxwell, who obviously helped Jeffrey Epstein traffic more than 1,000 women and girls, well, Donald Trump is now giving her special treatment while she's serving out her prison sentence. He won't even rule out giving her a pardon or commuting her sentence. I don't need to explain why pardoning sex traffickers wouldn't be restoring law and order. Now, this is Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Not only has Secretary Noem been busy filming propaganda ads, she's also been busy cashing in on millions of taxpayer dollars. In fact, Secretary Noem has funneled millions of dollars to a company called the Strategy Group. The Strategy Group helped Secretary Noem win her campaign to become the governor of South Dakota. Corey Lewandowski, her top policy advisor, has worked with the firm. And the company's CEO is married to Secretary Noem's chief spokesperson, Mrs. Tricia McLaughlin. This is what corruption looks like. They're stealing money from the American people's pockets and depositing it into their bank accounts. Now we move on to yet somebody else. This is the so-called border czar, Tom Homan. Mr. Homan is on tape accepting $50,000 in cash bribes stuffed in a brown paper bag from an undercover FBI agent. Apparently, Mr. Homan accepted these bribes in exchange for awarding federal contracts to his friends. Trump's Department of Justice killed the investigation into Mr. Homan's crimes, and congressional Republicans didn't say a mumbling word. Lastly, this is insurrectionist and Nazi sympathizer Ed Martin. It appears that Mr. Martin is functioning as the Associate Deputy Attorney General, Pardon Attorney, Director of the Fake Weaponization Working Group, and Special Attorney for Mortgage Fraud. All that means is that Mr. Martin is Trump's lapdog, whom the president sends to initiate lawsuits against the president's perceived political opponents. This is what we call organized crime. They're breaking the law, often by stealing taxpayer dollars, covering up their crimes by ending and obstructing investigations, then prosecuting people who call out their unlawful behavior. And while the Republicans are encouraging this corruption, they're abandoning actual victims of violent crime and ignoring the Republican-led state's 21st century murder crisis. In September's appropriation markup, congressional Republicans proposed reducing the FBI staff by thousands of positions and underfunding the agency by more than $1 billion. They've proposed slashing resources from the ATF. They've proposed cutting grants for juvenile justice programs and hate crimes and eliminating the community violence intervention and prevention grants. They're literally defunding the police. So no matter what they say at today's hearing, congressional Republicans have proven that they are not investing in keeping American communities safe from violent crime. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
All right, y'all saw that. That was Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett turning a whole hearing into a PowerPoint presentation of everybody she don't like, with Trump and Epstein on the cover slide. This is the Oouchie Friends Podcast, and tonight we got to talk about performance politics, because sis is not dumb. She's a lawyer, highly educated, went through law school, passed the bar, sits in Congress. But then when the cameras cut on, she started talking like she halfway from the block, halfway from CNN. Now, this is the president standing next to his best friend. Now, this is what we call organized crime. They didn't say a mumbling word. Ma'am, you know exactly what you're doing. Let's break this down piece by piece. First line out her mouth.
This is the President of the United States standing beside his best friend, Jeffrey Epstein. As we all know, Mr. Epstein is one of the most notorious sexual predators in American history.
Off rip, she goes maximum emotional trigger. President plus Epstein, best friend, notorious sexual predator. Now, I'm not here to say Trump never knew Epstein. We all know rich, powerful people moved in the same circles. There's pictures of Trump with Epstein, with Maxwell, with a whole list of elites. But let's be honest, best friend is not a legal term. That's not evidence. That's vibes. She's a trained attorney. She knows the difference between here is testimony, dates, flights, documented involvement, and here's an old picture. I'm going to say bestie because it sounds scandalous. That's what I mean by wordplay. Use a real villain, Epstein, plus use an old picture, plus throw in best friend equals people's brains fill in the rest. Even if she never proves any actual criminal partnership between them. It's guilt by photo dressed up as justice. Then she says,
For 8 weeks, the Republicans on this committee have chosen to protect these two men instead of providing justice to Mr. Epstein's victims.
That sounds deep, but what does that actually mean? Did they block a specific bill for Epstein's victims? Did they shut down a concrete investigation? Did they strip funding from a victim compensation program? Or did they simply not run with her narrative and her list of enemies in the way she wants? See, when you're a lawyer, you're supposed to deal in facts, charges, statutes, but she comes in like a YouTube commentator with a slideshow. Here's Trump, here's Maxwell, here's Noem, here's Homan, here's Ed Martin. Look at all these people I don't like. This is what we call organized crime. That's not a legal case. That's a TikTok compilation. Then she jumps into this whole soap opera.
First, they campaigned on releasing the Epstein files. Then AG Bondi and Associates did a photo op with the files. And she said, and I quote, "The Epstein list is on my desk." Then somehow the Epstein list didn't exist. Then the Epstein files became a Democratic hoax. Now the president is supposedly supportive of releasing the files, even though he's currently ignoring a congressional subpoena to do so.
Fam, that whole sequence is meant to make you feel like there's some mystical secret binder that would solve everything, and Republicans are just hiding it for Trump. She's not breaking down which court has which documents, federal versus state jurisdiction, privacy issues for victims, what's already public, what's still sealed, and why. She just says Epstein files, like it's the Marvel Infinity Stones. And again, she's a lawyer. She knows she could be specific if she wanted, but specific is boring. Vague plus dramatic sells better. They had the list. They said it was on the desk. Now it's a hoax. Now he's crashing out. You see the pattern? Heavy language, light on legal detail. She moves on.
Now, this is Miss Ghislaine Maxwell. Miss Maxwell, who obviously helped Jeffrey Epstein traffic more than 1,000 women and girls, well, Donald Trump is now giving her special treatment while she's serving out her prison sentence. He won't even rule out giving her a pardon or commuting her sentence.
Notice the game. Anything Trump doesn't explicitly say never to becomes he wants to protect sex traffickers. But show me the actual action. Did he file anything? Did he sign anything? Did he give her a reduced sentence? No, we're talking about hypotheticals and vibes again. That doesn't mean he's above criticism, but when you're in Congress, with that education and that platform, you owe people more than he might, he could, he didn't rule it out. Let me imply the worst case scenario. That's not oversight. That's fan fiction with a mic. Then she drags in Kristi Noem, calls her Secretary of Homeland Security when she's the governor of South Dakota. Already that's messy. Then she points at campaign consultants, strategy firms, someone being married to someone else who works with someone, and goes,
"This is what corruption looks like."
Is there shady stuff in politics? Of course, on both sides. But again, she doesn't break down which law is being broken, which statute they violated, where the case is filed, who investigated it. Just, they all know each other and there's money involved. Boom, organized crime. Same with Tom Homan. She says he's on tape taking a $50,000 bribe. Says Trump's DOJ killed the case. Okay, cool. Then where is the case file? What charge? What docket number? Who was the prosecutor? She doesn't cite anything. She tosses out big accusations like confetti, knowing the average person is not going to go read court docs. That's how you weaponize your education. You know how evidence works. You don't use it. You just use your authority to make people feel like it's all proven. Then we get to this part.
Lastly, this is insurrectionist and Nazi sympathizer Ed Martin. It appears that Mr. Martin is functioning as the Associate Deputy Attorney General, Pardon Attorney, Director of the Fake Weaponization Working Group, and Special Attorney for Mortgage Fraud. All that means is that Mr. Martin is Trump's lapdog, whom the president sends to initiate lawsuits against the president's perceived political opponents. This is what we call organized crime.
She just slapped like 6 labels on that man in 30 seconds. I'm not here to defend him personally. I don't know everything he's done or said, but look at the pattern. Insurrectionist, Nazi sympathizer, lapdog, organized crime. No citations, no specifics, just highly charged labels dropped on camera. It's like watching somebody argue on Twitter, but now it's in Congress with a blazer on. And what makes it extra crazy is she's got a law degree. She knows what organized crime actually means in statute. She knows what evidence is required to call something RICO or criminal conspiracy. But she uses that phrase like a catch-all insult. They're corrupt. They're organized crime. Trust me, I'm a lawyer. That's dangerous, because once people start believing accusations without evidence, you can weaponize that against anybody. Then she closes with the punchline.
Actual victims of violent crime and ignoring the Republican-led state's 21st century murder crisis. In September's appropriation markup, congressional Republicans proposed reducing the FBI staff by thousands of positions and underfunding the agency by more than $1 billion. They've proposed slashing resources from the ATF. They've proposed cutting grants for juvenile justice programs and hate crimes and eliminating the community violence intervention and prevention grants. They're literally defunding the police.
First of all, the political irony is crazy. Her side spent years with people chanting, defund the police. Now she's trying to flip that phrase and stick it on Republicans. Second, the budget game in D.C. is always about one side wanting more, one side wanting less. Somebody calling it a cut, someone else calling it a rebalance. This is how it sounds when you oversimplify. If Republicans say, we think the FBI is bloated, too political, we're trimming $1 billion, she translates that to, they hate victims, they love murder, they're defunding police. Again, zero nuance. You can critique their budget priorities, but if you're going to scream organized crime and defunding police, at least line it up with specific sections of the bill and show people what's actually being cut. But that's not the goal. The goal is emotion. And this is where that whole pretend to be ghetto thing comes in. See, this is what annoys me. Jasmine Crockett is not stupid. She's legit a high-profile, well-educated attorney who knows how evidence works, how statutes work, how precise language can be. But when she's performing for the camera, she slides into that petty, sarcastic, girl let me tell you mode, so-called border czar. Didn't say a mumbling word. Now he just crashing out. She's mixing hood cadence with hill talking points to make it feel more authentic and spicy for the internet. But under that style, the substance is still guilt by association, emotional buzzwords, big accusations, light receipts. And to me, that's more insulting than just talking like a straight-up polished lawyer, because she's using that ghetto flavor to sell you half-baked argument. It's political cosplay. Let me make my stance clear. Was Epstein a monster? Yes. Are there powerful people on both sides that probably don't want everything exposed? Absolutely. Are there real cases of corruption and shady contracts in D.C.? For sure. But if you're going to sit in Congress draped in credentials, acting like the voice of justice, You owe people more than photos, buzzwords, and performative outrage. Don't just say, best friend, show the receipts. Don't just yell, organized crime, lay out the case. Don't just say, literally defunding the police. Walk us through the budget line item. Until then, it's just performance. Y'all let me know in the comments, do you feel like Jasmine Crockett is genuinely doing oversight or just doing content? Does her style make you trust her more, or does it feel like a show? Drop your thoughts below. If you rock with these breakdowns, hit like, smash subscribe, and turn on notifications for the Oouchie Friends Podcast. It's your boy Oouchie, saying the things everybody's thinking, but scared to say out loud. And I'll see y'all in the next one.
So don't watch now, watch me show. So don't watch now, watch me show. 007 on the beat like James Bond. Super high on life, eyes low like Cheech and Chong. Footprint big on the roof, King Kong. All this fashion, how I match it on. So don't watch now, watch me show. So don't watch now, watch me show. Cool head, warm glow. Mission complete.